Okay, so you know that article about AI you sent me?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that's like barely scratching the surface.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Today, we're really diving deep into how AI is already changing, like, everything.
I mean, it is fascinating how it's not some far-off thing anymore.
Right.
AI is already woven into, well, so much of our lives. Like, think about it. Jobs, elections, even the news.
And we've got some awesome sources to help us unpack all of that.
Oh,
We'll
who?
hit three big areas. One, how AI is shaking up the job market.
Mm-hmm.
Two, its role in all those crazy deepfake videos you see in
Oh,
politics.
yeah, yeah.
And three, this huge debate about regulating AI, all triggered by something that happened in California recently.
So not just robots taking over then.
Definitely not that simple.
Okay, good.
It's more about how AI is changing what work even looks like, how elections are fought, even what kind of future we're headed for.
I'm intrigued. Where do we start?
Let's talk jobs first. Remember those Microsoft AI
The
agents?
ones that can almost work on their own. Yeah.
Exactly. Those are a total game changer.
It is a huge e-shift. We're going from AI as a tool to AI as like almost an independent worker.
Whoa.
I mean, take Copilot Studio, for example. It lets these AI agents do super complex stuff, things we used to think only humans could handle.
Mind-blowing. Just imagine AI could take over all the boring, repetitive tasks,
Uh-huh.
leaving us free to do work we actually love.
I like where you're going with this.
Right, like I could finally clear my inbox if AI handled all my scheduling and stuff.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'm on board with that.
But we do have to talk about the elephant in the room,
What's that?
job displacement.
Uh,
All this automation could mean some people lose their jobs.
Right, right. That's a real concern. And some jobs are definitely more vulnerable than others, like data entry, basic customer service, even some admin roles. Those could be hit first.
Which is scary.
Mm.
But the good news is the sources we found have some really interesting solutions.
Oh, good.
One that comes up a lot is universal basic income, like a safety net for people who lose their jobs because of automation.
That makes sense.
And then there's retraining programs, to help people learn the skills they need for this new world.
Yeah, that's crucial, especially for people who are constantly learning, wanting to stay ahead of the game, like you.
Oh, stop. You're making me blush.
But it's true, knowledge is power,
Yeah,
right? Especially with things changing so fast.
totally. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Lay it on me.
Some experts think companies might have to invest in retraining their employees.
To make this whole transition smoother.
Yeah, like it wouldn't just be the government's responsibility.
Hmm, that is an interesting angle.
So AI might change how we work.
Right.
But here's the kicker. It could also change how we vote.
Wait, what?
Seriously. Think about those deepfakes we mentioned.
Uh-huh.
They've actually swayed elections already. Remember that one in Europe?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Wild stuff.
It's crazy. Like something out of a movie. These deepfakes, they create these like hyper-realistic videos and audio, but it's all fake.
And the tech behind them is getting more and more sophisticated all the time. Things like generative adversarial networks, or GANs.
And Jans.
Yeah, it's making it almost impossible to tell what's real and what's not.
Which is a huge problem for democracies,
Hey,
right?
you said it. If people can't trust what they see and hear, how can they make informed decisions?
Okay, before we spiral into total dystopia, the good news is our sources have some pretty smart solutions for dealing with these deepfakes too.
Okay, good, because I was starting to get a little worried.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
But there's hope.
So what are they?
Well, for one, there's this whole technological arms race going on.
An arms race.
Yeah. Experts are developing tools to detect deepfakes, even as the tech to create them keeps advancing.
Ah, so it's like a constant battle.
Exactly. Like a cat and mouse game, but with technology.
That eye is fascinating.
And then there's the regulation side of things. Some countries are already making laws about deepfakes, especially around elections.
Oh, wow.
And even social media platforms are starting to have their own policies to try to control the spread of this stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. So what can we do, like as individuals?
That's where media literacy comes in. You can't just believe everything you see online anymore. You got to double check your sources, do your research, think critically.
Be a savvy consumer of information.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Because it's more important than ever to, separate fact from fiction.
Absolutely, especially in this age of AI-generated content.
So we've seen how AI can change how we work and how we vote, which leads to the big question. Should we be controlling this stuff at all?
Ooh, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
For real. And it sparked this huge EE debate, especially after what went down in California recently.
Yeah, fill me in.
Okay, so there was this bill in California proposing some pretty strict regulations on AI. But get this, the governor vetoed it.
Vetoed it. Wow.
Yeah. And that's what ignited this whole firestorm about the best way to manage the risks of AI.
So what are people saying?
Well, it's kind of like a political thriller.
How so?
Both sides have some really strong arguments.
I see.
On one hand, you have people saying that too much regulation will kill innovation, hurt the economy, and make the U.S. less competitive globally.
Which makes sense, especially in a place like California, the heart of the tech world.
Right, but then you have the folks arguing that AI is just too powerful to be left alone. They think we need rules to prevent all the potential harm.
Like what?
Well, things like bias in algorithms, misuse of AI, even threats to democracy itself.
Those are serious concerns.
No kidding. So it's like, how do you balance progress with protection,
It's a tricky situation for sure.
Totally. But what if there's like a middle ground? That's what makes this whole discussion so interesting to me.
A middle ground? What do you mean?
Well, some people are talking about things like industry self-regulation.
Like what? Ethical councils within tech companies or something?
Exactly. Or even like industry-wide agreements on best practices.
So basically the tech world policing itself.
Yeah, something like that. And then another idea is public-private partnerships, where the government and industry work together to come up with guidelines.
So not just one side dictating to the other.
Right, like finding a way to both encourage innovation and address those risks.
Makes sense. That's a really interesting thought. What if we took things slower, like gathering more data, evidence before jumping into huge regulations?
Like a scientific approach. Figure out what we're dealing with first.
Exactly. Some experts are pushing for more research to really understand the impact of AI before we make laws that might do more harm than good.
This whole thing feels so big, though. Like, we've been talking about the U.S., but AI is like a global thing. What about the rest of the world? How are other countries handling all of this?
That's such a good point. It's not just a U.S. issue, that's for sure. In fact, the International Labor Organization, they did a study predicting that automation could actually displace millions of jobs worldwide.
Millions. Seriously.
Yeah, it's pretty staggering. This isn't just a national concern. It's like a global challenge. We've got to figure this out together.
And it's forcing governments and policymakers everywhere to get creative, right?
Oh, absolutely. Some countries are trying out different social safety nets, while others are investing a ton in education and retraining, to prepare their workforces for this new reality.
It really makes you think, what skills will even matter in this AI-driven future?
Right. What do people need to learn to stay ahead of the curve? It's a question everyone's asking.
So beyond just learning to code or whatever.
Yeah. It's interesting because while AI is amazing at those repetitive rule-based tasks, there are things humans are still way better at, like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, complex problem solving. Those skills are going to be in high GH demand.
So it's not just about technical stuff.
No way. It's about nurturing those, uniquely human skills, the things AI can't replicate. At least not yet.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
And it's not just about individual workers either. Companies have to adapt, too. Figure out how to use AI effectively. The ones that thrive will be those that can blend human A&D, artificial intelligence. Get the best of both worlds.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think about how AI will change entire industries, not just individual jobs.
Totally. I mean, we've already talked about manufacturing, customer service.
Yeah.
But AI's impact goes way beyond that. Think about healthcare. It's ripe for disruption. We're already seeing AI helping with diagnoses, personalizing treatments, even developing new drugs.
Wow, that's actually really exciting. Like, AI could make healthcare so much better.
It totally could. But, like with any powerful technology, we have to think about the ethics, the potential risks.
Right. It can't just be a free-for-all.
Exactly. For example, how do we make sure AI in healthcare is fair? That it doesn't make existing biases worse? We need to be asking those questions as we build these systems.
It's easy to get caught up in the cool factor and forget about the ethical side.
For sure. And that brings us back to that whole AI regulation debate. It's a global conversation now as governments try to find that balance between, encouraging innovation and protecting people.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier, those deep fakes, that's a perfect example of why people want stricter rules.
Absolutely. Deepfakes are just one way AI can be misused. There are also concerns about surveillance, facial recognition, even autonomous weapons.
Oh, wow.
It's serious stuff. AI's power could have some really scary consequences if we're not careful.
So where do we even go from here? It feels like there are no easy answers.
You're right, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Every country is different, different values, different priorities. What works in one place might not work in another.
I guess that makes sense.
But the key is to keep talking about it, openly and honestly, about the risks, the benefits, all of it, and involve everyone in the decision-making, not just the governments and tech companies.
So the public needs a voice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. These decisions we're making about AI today, they'll shape our lives for years to come. It's like everyone needs a seat at the table.
I'm totally with you on that, and that kind of leads to one of the big takeaways from this whole deep dive.
Okay, what's that?
AI is not some abstract thing anymore. It's already impacting us, like in real, tangible ways, and that's only going to increase.
Right, it's not just a theory anymore.
Exactly. So it's on all of us to, stay informed, be part of the conversation, make sure AI is used for good.
That's such a good point. It's easy to get lost in all the details, but in the end, AI is a tool.
A powerful tool, yeah, but still a tool.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It all comes down to who's using it and what their intentions are.
You nailed it. We can't just blindly accept or reject AI. We have to be thoughtful, intentional, proactive about how we, weave it into our lives, keep talking about it, asking those tough questions, working together to figure out the ethical stuff. There might not be easy answers, but if we collaborate, we can use AI's power to build a better future for everyone.
That's actually really hopeful. It's easy to focus on the negative, but AI could also be the key to solving some of the world's biggest problems, right?
Oh, absolutely. Think about things like climate change, poverty, disease. AI could offer solutions we haven't even thought of yet.
Wow.
But to get there, we need collaboration, innovation, a commitment to using AI for good, like really good.
It almost feels like we're at this turning point, like the future of AI is really in our hands.
That's a great way to put it. It's not predetermined. It's something we're actively shaping with every choice we make. And by, embracing that responsibility, we can make sure AI helps us build a better future for all of us.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I have a much better grasp on all this now.
It's been a pleasure talking about this with you. AI is a topic that never gets old for me. It's amazing, challenging, constantly evolving, and I'm sure these conversations will keep going as AI advances, asking tough questions, working together, making sure technology empowers humanity.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope you found it informative and, maybe even a little inspiring. Remember, stay curious, stay engaged, and help us shape the future of this incredible technology.
Until next time.